Thank you very much, and good afternoon to everyone. And sorry that I can't be there in Skopje in person. I hope I can be next time or very soon as well. Perhaps I can just give a few sort of thoughts that might hopefully set the ball rolling for our discussion this afternoon. Firstly, sort of going back to first principles, and we heard a lot about this also just before this session from the Minister and the Governor. We're seeing a stronger than expected rebound across the region. From the World Bank side, we just released our projections for growth last week. We're expecting the Western Balkans to grow at about 5.9% GDP this year. That's quite a bit higher than we were penciling in just a few months ago. And the storyline is perhaps consistent that we're seeing right across emerging and developed Europe. It's a sort of very strong performance in terms of exports and a rebound in domestic consumption. But we're not there in terms of what we might call a full recovery. It's a rebound, growth is back, but we're not going to see sort of per capita levels of income reaching the same sort of pre-pandemic levels perhaps until 2022. Then, of course, and as the Minister already told us, and I think that's a common storyline in other countries around the region, governments everywhere have deployed a lot of fiscal space. Central banks have really stretched their resources as well to provide a cushion and a support to growth during the pandemic. And so the big question I think we all have, and maybe that's really for us during this session this afternoon, is how can we ensure that this rebound becomes a durable recovery? And the big answer to that, of course, is private investment. But of course, we're at a time where governments everywhere have seen their balance sheets stretched. They're looking to see how they can start to rebuild fiscal space, gradually sort of exit some of these policy measures, as well as monetary forbearance and financial sector measures, to sort of normalize the policy stance, get ready for the next crisis, essentially. And so how can we ensure that growth is sustained and it translates into improvements in living standards and job creation? And so I think ministers of finance everywhere, not just in this region, are sort of scratching their heads saying, how can we support and sustain growth without necessarily spending an awful lot in terms of fiscal resources? And that's where the structural reform agenda really comes in. A few things that I would sort of highlight is certainly competition and competition policy, the extent to which market forces really drive investment decisions across the region. The importance of productivity, and particularly that link between productivity and human capital. The importance of regional economic integration, and finally digitalization. That's one of our particular themes this afternoon, the extent to which digital technologies can really accelerate growth and create new opportunities for private investment across the region. So perhaps I hand back over to you.